All right, so this is sort of a breaking news episode, mainly due to just the whole market, every market crashing at the moment, and why that is happening. So most of us who are in the crypto space know that crypto's been having a really hard time for a while now, but just over the last week, things have gotten really ugly, mainly since last Friday. So last Friday, the CPI print came out. It was almost 9%, which is it's the measure of the inflation rate. And even that number is a bit skewed. So the real inflation rate is probably more in the double digits, which is just astronomically high. And this is almost totally disregarding everything the Fed has been doing. It kind of shows that even despite the Fed increasing rates and tightening monetary policy and all these other things, that it still has almost zero effect on inflation. That it's still just inflation is just ripping through. And because of this, the Fed has talked and kind of hinted about a Paul Volcker scenario. So, for those of you who don't know, there's something called Fed speak, which is basically when the Fed talks, they kind of leave hints on their direction because they don't want to spook the market too much. They just want to leave sort of like breadcrumbs, and then they slowly start talking more and more about their plans and bringing them to light after some people have picked up on it. The reason they do this is because it doesn't shock markets all at once. Like if they came out and they said that they're going to just absolutely, spike interest rates a ridiculous amount, and then the market would immediately crash, right? So what they do is they leave breadcrumbs and they slowly ease into their plan to hopefully, kind of give the market a head start without totally dumping. And they, for the first time in a very long time, have said the words Paul Volcker. So Paul Volcker was the Fed chair in the 1980s, and for those of you who don't know, in the 70s and 80s there was really high inflation, and the Fed was kind of in a similar position they are now, and they just could not get it down. So what they decided to do, Paul Volcker, the chair, came out and said that he's, basically screw it, we're gonna just put the nail in the coffin and end inflation at all costs. And what they did was they shot the Fed funds rate up to something ridiculous. It was in the high double digits, which absolutely tanked the market, made lending super expensive. So borrowing money was super expensive, but it did eventually defeat inflation. And Jerome Powell came out and was talking about, just briefly, about Paul Volcker. Which a lot of people think is Fed speak. They believe that maybe their plan is shifting to a more Paul Volcker approach. Because of that, markets are reacting in a very negative way. You have a lot that's going on. You have the inflation print. That itself is very, very bad news. And then you have the Fed coming out and talking about Paul Volcker, which also is bad news. When you combine the two, it's just sort of a bad scenario. So crypto always seems to get a head start, and it's just because it's a 24/7 market. So Friday this news all came out, the stock market reacted a little bit, but it didn't have a lot of time to, but the crypto market did. The crypto market's 24/7, so it was reacting to it all weekend, and it was not in a great way. All the way up even to, Sunday last night, it was having a really rough time, which is usually a leading indicator for the stock market, which is what we're seeing now. Now, where does crypto go from here? How does crypto react? Well, if we are truly entering into a moment like the 80s, we have really no base case for how this will how crypto will behave in this time. As I've said in my previous videos, a lot of people treat crypto as a risk-on asset. What that means is it's at the tail end of the curve. So when the market and everything is looking really good, you buy crypto and hope to get excess returns over market and beat the market. But what that means is when things go down, it usually goes down a lot faster, and it's usually the first thing everybody cuts from their portfolio. So I think that is still the behavior of crypto. So when things do turn around, crypto will probably be one of the first to flip around with it. It'll probably react super quickly, which is great, but who knows where that point is. And at the moment, nothing on the macro scale looks very good. I mean, the whole macro economy is in a really rough time. Europe's in a very rough time. You've got multiple things going on. You got supply chain issues. You've got the war in Ukraine, which is causing gas prices and all these other sorts of things to surge, wheat prices. So you have that whole political side. You've got inflation because of supply chain issues and high demand. And it's just all of it hitting at the same time, which is a bad recipe. So I definitely think that we're going to have, a rough patch coming up here. And it won't be until after that all kind of resolves itself that we start to see a turnaround in the crypto market. And if you guys haven't seen already, I've got a video on my bear market strategy, and also, how this cycle kind of compares to last. But definitely check those other videos out. But I wanted to put this out there for you guys to kind of get an idea of what happened that is causing the drop that we are seeing. So if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated on my sort of news bites like this. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.